Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles.
He is Greg Bedard. I am Nick Cattles, allowed back onto the podcast for this live episode. Appreciate every single one of you. We are part of the CLNS Media Network, and this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Another weekend, another win, Greg, now 5 in a row for the Patriots as they are 6-2, getting ready for Atlanta coming up this weekend. Of course, we'll have more on that game later on in the week. But let's start with what happened against Cleveland on Sunday. Drake Maye, there's a lot of noise about MVP level play. A lot of people excited about what he's been doing. But it sounds like from what I've read from your notes this morning, you didn't think this was one of his best games over the last few that we've seen.
No, I mean, look, I think that Drake did a nice job overall, in this game, especially in the context of, he's going up against a Browns defense that is, pretty good. Definitely hurt them once Tyson Campbell went out at cornerback. He's really been playing well since he came over in the trade with the Jags when they swapped underachieving cornerbacks. And Drake did well overall. Obviously, he had the interception, which, is a play he wants back. But, I didn't – watching the game back, I did not think this was not a game that you would put on his, maybe sort of MVP resume. There's plenty of other games to put on there. And I think, I would make the argument that all of the Patriots' previous wins, I would definitely, if you're doing little tiles to put, make a composite of Drake Maye's MVP candidacy, which is completely legit, and he's up there. I think he's going to be up there, and he might just win the damn thing at the end of the day. But I mean, you look at the other wins, the Dolphins, the Panthers, the Bills, the Saints, the Titans. Those games, you could definitely look at it and say, if they don't have Drake Maye, they don't win that game. I did not think that in this game. And then some of it has to do with the Browns. The Browns weren't, we talked about it. I mean, they ended up getting double digits, but it was going to be a stress for them. And it was sort of garbage time when they did get the other touchdown. And, thanks to a 15-yard shank by Behringer. But I thought Drake Maye was really good in the second half. He graded out negatively for me in the first half. That obviously includes the interception. There were some pressures that I put on him, or at least gave him partial responsibility, and that's going to happen. It's not I'm not making an indictment on Drake. These are the same things that I saw and had to deal with, and I've had these conversations with him when Aaron Rodgers first started, when I was covering him, and Aaron, and I think I've heard Tom Brady talk about this. Like, it's easy for me to play. It's easier for me to play quarterback because I'm not going anywhere. Like, I have to operate from the pocket. When you have to start talking about, like, do I stay? Do I go? Do I not? All that stuff. Like, do I hang in the pocket? These athletic quarterbacks they're really hard decisions. And Aaron struggled mightily with it for a couple of years. I mean, Drake Maye's way ahead of where Aaron Rodgers was in terms of that stuff. But, for example, that Myles Garrett red zone sack, I think that was that at the so
on the first drive? Or the other one where he's running to his right on the bootleg?
Okay, so no, the first drive. So, Myles Garrett made a great play, but if you watch it, and I gave half responsibility to Will Campbell and half to Maye. Now, if you look at it, the line of scrimmage was the 8. He gets sacked, and it wasn't like he was trying to avoid, like he just got hit from behind. He got put down at the 18. That's 10 yards. I mean, you can't be drifting. You need to be, somewhere around like 7-8 yards And if he is, maybe Myles Garrett goes around. That's what, Will Campbell's not expecting his quarterback to be 10 yards, and he's drifting in the pocket a little bit. Hunter Henry was coming open right in the middle. It did get crowded in there. Could he have stayed in the heart of the pocket and hit Hunter Henry? Possibly. But, there I'd rather either he hangs in the pocket or he just bails and starts running to the right and get what you can. Maybe he scores there. So, that's sort of one example. But I would say, if you're looking at this game, you're going to be like, well, they scored, 32 points, what have you, 30 points offensively. If you look at it, the first half, they got 3 field goals. And mind you, I thought Drake, he has a habit of this where all of a sudden he might be struggling for a while. And then that last drive before halftime, he starts to heat up, and then that carries into the second half. But, he makes a great play to Booty, the 21-yarder, to get him into field goal range when they were there was a sack, there was a false start, they were sort of a disaster. He bailed him out of it with a great anticipation throw to Booty for 21 yards, got him the field goal. But they had 9 points. Then they come out at halftime. I think we can all agree that drive was pretty much all Josh McDaniels. It was all scheme all the way down. The Hunter Henry touchdown was wide open. They get the Spillane interception. 3 plays, touchdown on a little scheme play to Stephon Diggs after a sack that Maye was involved in to start the drive. And then the Booty touchdown, which is a, phenomenal throw. I mean, it was perfect. It was dropped in a bucket. That's a called shot play at the +40 against a rookie corner that got turned around. And so all of a sudden now it's 30-7, the game's over. And how much heavy lifting did Drake Maye have to do in this game? So, that's just my point. I mean, I'm not saying he played poorly. It was just, it was remind me of some of those Mac Jones games in 2021 when they were winning 7 in a row, where you're just I don't know what to make out of this. But yeah, it's another win, and they're rolling.
All right. We'll get back to Drake Maye, but we have some breaking news here for the Patriots. Ian Rappaport and Tom Pelissero are reporting that Marcus Jones has agreed to a contract extension with the New England Patriots. Jones is getting 3 new years on the deal. There are no terms just yet. There's no specifics yet. But Marcus Jones, Greg, at this hour, of course, he was going to be a free agent if he did not get this extension with the Pats. But he gets a 3-year deal from Mike Vrabel, Elliott Wolf, and company. Your thoughts as this is breaking right now, Marcus Jones getting that 3-year extension?
Great. I mean, look, I we've been talking about it for a while. There's a lot of candidates on this defense, especially on the defensive line. But he's arguably been the best defensive player on this team over the entire season. It seems like, especially over the last month or so, every sort of third down stop, Marcus Jones is involved in it at some point, including, in this game a couple times. He was there on the 2-point conversion. He sticks his nose in the running game, which you wouldn't think with a player his size. We all know how talented Christian Gonzalez is. We know how much they're paying Carlton Davis. Gonzalez is still coming back from injury, but if you asked me to give an award for best defensive back on the Patriots, it would be, to this point, it would be Marcus Jones in a runaway. And I think Marcus Jones is one of those poster child guys for your program. Will do anything, can tackle, return punts, could play offense if need be, tough as nails. He's, it seems like to this point, knock on wood, he's proven to be pretty durable. I think he's developed his body, and I think he's become one of the best slot corners in the league. So tremendous job by the Patriots to lock him up now, and we don't have to deal with this in the offseason.
You wondered how he would fit, right? Because Mike Vrabel tends to like bigger slot corners. He likes bigger physical guys. So we kind of wondered how Marcus Jones would fit when Vrabel was that, the name that came up and was officially the new head coach and was all released and via statement and announced and all that stuff. You wondered, could Marcus Jones really fit in with a Mike Vrabel physical defense with the big slot corner? And even, Mike had talked about the big nickel and having bigger corners. And we know if there's one thing about Marcus Jones that he is not, and he's a lot that's really good. But if there's one thing is he's not a big dude. You can't help that. He's not a bigger guy. But he has seemed to fit this defense perfectly. He is obviously very trusted in this defense, asked, to do an awful lot. And he's really, as you said, Greg, he's been everywhere. Even on Sunday, he was everywhere on the football field. I mean, he's rallying to tackle guys. He's coming downhill and putting hits on dudes. He's sticky in coverage. Obviously, we all know what he can do in the punt return game, special teams. He is a game changer if you give him just a little bit of space. So a 3-year contract extension. And it also should be mentioned, this is a guy that was named a captain before the season kicked off. So he has seemingly taken a leadership role with this football team. He has really fit hand in glove with what the Patriots are trying to do. And I'll tell you, the fact that we're halfway through the season and Mike Vrabel said, oh, that's a guy we want. That's a guy that we need here. It speaks to not only what Marcus Jones does on the field, but also his fit as far as what the culture is, or what the culture is trying to be created here by Mike Vrabel and company. So Marcus Jones gets a 3-year contract extension. He will be in New England moving forward, which I'm sure a lot of people, especially Patriots fans, will be happy with this news. So that's the breaking news. Let's get back to Browns Patriots from Sunday. Greg, what'd you think of the pressure Cleveland got in this game?
I thought it was, about as expected. I mean, Myles Garrett is just Myles Garrett. We tried to warn people that this guy is superhuman. You can try to do everything, and they did everything. And you knew Josh McDaniels was going to do that. They were just not going to, put Will Campbell on an island against.
You watched too much baseball last night. That 15, 16, 17, 18th inning got to you.
I'm still a little foggy from that. But I thought that I actually think they did a pretty good job with the, interior guys. Malik Collins didn't have quite the impact that I thought he would. Mason Graham, I've been sort of underwhelmed by him. I know a lot of other people have, praised him this year. Didn't even notice him.
No, he didn't do anything on Sunday. He did nothing.
But I heard, my buddies, Felger and Maz, talk about this. And one thing I wanted to point out, because I think Tony was asking the question, he's like, well, why don't they just put 2 people on him the entire time instead of these chips where it's a running back or it's a tight end and, getting a good shove.
Yeah.
The problem with that, and obviously you'd like to do that. The problem with Myles Garrett is A, you don't know where he's going to line up, and B, 75% of the time he's in the wide 9. So that means he is way outside the tight end. So it's not like you can teleport, you can't. I mean, I guess you could create some new formation where you detach the left tackle and the tight end to be in to block the wide 9 type of thing. So you can't. How they align him in Jim Schwartz's scheme with the wide 9, you're really limited in what you can do because he's all the way out there. And I think, Mike Vrabel talked about this. There were some issues in the blocking in terms of, Hunter Henry would get a decent, sometimes he whiffed, initial block on Myles Garrett. And then Will Campbell, was too far away. And so now all of a sudden, instead of, you need to marry it, you need Will Campbell right there. You need to know, all right, well, I'm going to be on his outside shoulder. So you get the inside, and it's tough. It's something that you need to practice a lot between teammates. We all know Will Campbell, is a rookie. It'll get better in time. I made this point on the post-game show that there's a lot of veteran offensive tackles that don't want chips because they often screw up things more than they help. Because all of a sudden, you're playing a certain leverage and then a guy knocks them and you weren't ready for that and all sorts of things. But they had to do something against Myles Garrett. They did it. It wasn't great. Hopefully they learn from it, get to watch the film. They'll be better in the future because they will see guys like this.
Yeah, the wide 9 thing, 3rd and goal, the play that you mentioned in the first drive, that's exactly what happens with Myles Garrett there. He's He's, lined up way outside, which is the wide 9. And you've got Hunter Henry trying to chip him. And then you've got Campbell in what Garrett does from the wide 9. And he does that Euro step pass rush move, which is just crazy. He does the Euro step against Henry, and then he goes quickly outside to beat Campbell. So he goes inside on Henry, then quickly outside to beat Campbell. And it's one of those things where, that's just a freak doing freak things. There's not many people on this planet that are as big as he is that can do those types of things. And that's why Myles Garrett is truly an elite football player and will go down as one of the better football players that we've seen on that side of the football for the past couple of decades. The dude is just special. And when you're special, you have elite traits and you can do things others can't. And that's an example of it. What'd you think, Greg? You just kind of touched on it a little bit, but overall, when you're watching the film, what'd you make of Will Campbell versus Myles Garrett, especially when he had opportunities one-on-one?
I thought he was pretty solid. I thought he did a good job. He, what stood out to me is, Will is obviously, very strong. He has a good anchor. He's always going to have some issues with, especially like speed around the edge, because he's not, I wouldn't say he's the fastest guy, and also, sort of his arm length a little bit, but I thought he did pretty well. I'm looking at, he did get a lot of help. I think what did I see on Next Gen? I think, he blocked, I think he had Myles Garrett like 13 times, and there were like 5 pressures, I think, including 3 sacks. I only had Will Campbell for a half sack against Garrett, another half. I had him for 3 half sacks, including on the strip sack fumble, and 1 minus run block. I had him for 3 plus run blocks, and he did have a plus pass block against 91. I forget his name.
Alex Wright.
At the moment. Alex Wright, where he really bowed up really well. I thought he played well in this game. All things considered, we know, he was getting a lot of help. He's been getting a lot of help this year when needed. But, I'd be pretty happy with this type of performance from Will Campbell.
Let's talk about the other rookie, TreVeyon Henderson. I don't know if you'd say this was a coming out party for TreVeyon Henderson on Sunday. It did feel like Josh McDaniels is figuring out how to best use Henderson. I thought he played well, Greg. Obviously, you can look at the rushing and all of that, but I did think his patience was much better in this game. I also thought that his pass protection was better. There was one time that he handled the edge. I think it was on Matt Collins' crossing route for a nice play for the Patriots offense. I thought TreVeyon Henderson took a very positive, significant positive step, of course, before the fumble, but hey, we'll see what happens there. But I thought it was a much needed step for TreVeyon Henderson on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree. You and I have sort of been talking about it for a couple of weeks, when we've been talking about the running game and TreVeyon Henderson. And, I felt like this was coming, and I would call this a mini breakout game. I think it's a very good first step for him to get some confidence. And it was, similar to our discussion about Drake Maye in week 1, where, Drake Maye was a little sped up. He was a little overjuiced and, all this stuff. And I made the point of, he's going to be sped up until he's not. And the same thing applies to TreVeyon Henderson or, any other rookie, on offense. They're going to be sped up until they're not, till the game slows down for them a bit. Right. You don't know when that's going to happen. It could be week 1 for some guys. It could be week 15, or it could be next season. But you got the feeling it was coming. The blocking, the second level blocking, was getting better. There was, really good job on Henderson's 28-yard run where, he didn't really have to do a whole lot because Morgan Moses was out there and Jared Wilson was out there and somebody else was out there. Could have been Oweno. And so, you had a feeling this was coming. I thought it was going to be the Titans game. It turns out it was this game. I don't think I think that it'll be easy for people to say, you're tossing it to him on the outside. Like, that's his game. That's what you want to do. they should do that more. Why hasn't McDaniels been doing this more? A lot of it depends on the opponent. Actually,
Right.
almost all of it does.
Yeah.
And there was obviously something that Josh McDaniels saw in this film to say, like, they used a little bit more of I would say like a thunder and lightning type of a deal with, Stevenson inside and then using Henderson on the outside. And, the Patriots, some of their runs they hadn't shown on film yet. So that contributes. The Browns are pretty aggressive on defense. Josh McDaniels is no stranger to going up against Jim Schwartz. Mike Vrabel was there last year. So understands what Schwartz wants to do. So this game was conducive for doing some of that stuff. And they even did it on the first drive of the game, let alone the first drive of the second half. But yeah, it was good. And hopefully this is just the beginning for Henderson, because and still, I don't think it was, I didn't have him for any negative plays in this game, but I think there's a lot more meat left on the bone for TreVeyon Henderson. And the more he can do what you're talking about in pass pro, which I do think it was better, and it was refreshing not to mark him down in a game. But the more he's going to do that, the more opportunities he's going to get, especially in the passing game. And that's really where he's going to make his impact long-term for this team. Yeah,
I'm sure what Josh McDaniels saw was, Cleveland losing the edge against the run and trying to go bore at the quarterback and maybe not the best eye discipline, maybe not the best, disciplined approach on the edges every once in a while from that defense. I thought the offensive line did a really good job for the most part of getting to the second level. I thought Jared Wilson did a good job of that for the most part. And you could see it. You mentioned, Michael Wenu at one point I thought did a good job or a couple times during this game. Garrett Bradbury pancaked the dude, which was nice to see on the second level.
Yep.
So, I thought the O-line did a really good job of climbing up to that second level and getting those blocks. And for the most part, sustaining them longer than they have in the first 7 weeks of the season, which we've talked about over and over and over again. So, that's part of it. But that's why I kind of underlined the patience from Henderson. That's what stood out to me the most. There was one play, it was another perimeter run, and he was just patient. He allowed his blocks to set up, which is something you really haven't seen consistently from him. And if he does that, he's going to be in much better shape. The opening drive of the second half, before we get to the defense and some other stuff, I just want to mention this. And by the way, if you're looking for Marcus Jones breakdowns, we already hit that news. So if you're just joining us live because of the breaking news with Marcus Jones, rewind about 6-7 minutes ago. We got to Marcus Jones. We broke it. We discussed it. But the opening drive, Greg, of the second half, man, was a thing of beauty. And I posted that McDaniels was just in his freaking bag. And this is, you and I talk about some things about offensive coordinators. And listen, we get frustrated. And I didn't love a couple of calls from McDaniels in the first half. There was the 3rd and short where he called the gun run. And Bradbury, of course, if Bradbury doesn't get absolutely demolished, the play might work. But I didn't love the idea of going smaller and shotgun style and running that gun run with Ramondre, given how they were dominating, just kind of getting push up front. So there's always going to be a couple of calls in a game that might irritate you about a coordinator. Nobody's flawless. Those are going to happen. But when we talk about Josh McDaniels, we talk about play sequencing. We talk about setting the defense up in certain ways with certain plays that you're going to come back and you're going to utilize that to manipulate the defense. And on that third quarter, first drive, right out of halftime, that was Michelangelo from Josh McDaniels. That was, you want to talk about great OC play calling. I'll go through it for a little bit here. 2nd and 4, shotgun. You had split back formation, pitch to Henderson, 7 yards. Henry had a good block. Then you come back on a 1st and 10. I formation, toss right. I talk about dudes getting to the second level. Go back and watch this 1st and 10 I formation run, first possession of the second half. Morgan Moses, Jared Wilson, Mike Owenu, and even Jack Westover, who I thought threw a couple of good blocks in this game. They killed the second level. They absolutely dominated the Browns on that run. Henderson goes for 20+. 1st and 10, under center, toss right. You have the double pass with Ramondre Stevenson. By the way, fantastic throw by Drake Maye. He's got a guy barreling down. He can't really necessarily step into that throw as much as he wants to. He lofts it perfectly to Mac Hollins. right where Hollins can catch the football and continue upfield. That was a nice little trick play, and we know Josh likes his trick plays. We finally saw one. And then when we talk about other things that you do, 1st and 10, shotgun speed option, I thought Hollins and Diggs, pretty good blocks there. But then the 2nd and 6, setting people up. 2nd and 6 under center, you run a Pop Douglas jet sweep. You get 9 yards out of that. Nice block by Mac Hollins, by the way. And then you come back. This is the setting up the defense, Greg. You run the 2nd and 6 under center jet sweep to Pop Douglas. That gets you 9 yards. And now you're 1st and 10. You go under center again. You run Stephon Diggs in motion, making it look like it's going to be a jet sweep. Then you play action to Ramondre Stevenson after you get by Diggs, and that opens up the bootleg to a wide open Hunter Henry. That is the chef's kiss. That's what play calling looks like. That's what we haven't seen. We didn't see it with Van Pelt. We didn't see it with as much as we wanted to with Bill O'Brien. We certainly did not see it with Matt Patricia, but that is great OC play calling.
Yeah, I thought that Josh has had a lot of good moments this year, and it's not going to be perfect. I know there's people out there, who want it perfect, and there's people like Felger who rave about shotgun on the goal line. I mean, I do think especially like on the first possession, the Stevenson goes for -4, because Morgan Moses gets his butt kicked, and then May misses a pass to Stephon Diggs, and then we talked about the sack. I do think that the Chiefs run a lot of shotgun on goal line. I know some people don't like it. I do think they're trying to set up as the season goes along to use May on the goal line, use his legs. And, you can do some of that from, under center, but I think that they're trying to set up the read option, stuff for further down the line when they need it, when they need to pull it out in a big spot. But yeah, everybody knows how I feel about Josh McDaniels. I think he's excellent at his job. I think he's one of the best, in the league. I heard, Greg Cosell talking last week about how he's very much a believer in pairing a veteran offensive coordinator and play caller with a young quarterback. And, you see sort of these things. I mean, even for example, somebody who's on staff with the Patriots, Thomas Brown, who gets, some accolades from, Mike Vrabel. I mean, Thomas Brown was the offensive coordinator for Bryce Young his rookie year, which was not good. And he was also the offensive coordinator for Caleb Williams last year, his rookie year, which was not good. And you see like sort of what's going on with Nick Caley in Houston, who obviously used to be here, but never really coached the quarterbacks. And the ability to coach the quarterback and see it, from those eyes and understand it, I think are a reason why Josh McDaniels, stands out. And sometimes you need your play caller to, get you that first touchdown after it's been tough sledding against a defense. And you just sort of, you're waiting. I'm sure there's some people who are like, well, why don't they do that all the time? You can't really do it all the time, but you're waiting to pull it out at the right time. And his timing was perfect on Sunday.
All right, before we move on, we got to get to the defense. Greg, I want to point out, I wasn't sure, but I think you are on your computer microphone. I know we're 28 minutes in, but the shuffling of the papers really did it for me because it sounds like you're pounding the microphone with the papers when you move them. So let's see if we can make a little bit of a change here. We're live, make a little bit of a change to the microphone situation. Again, we will get to the Patriots defense. I want to talk about Christian Gonzalez. I want to talk about yet another opening drive touchdown for an opponent. But before we get to all of that, hopefully Greg has his mic fixed and we can talk about PrizePicks.
You and I make decisions every day. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. But on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. I love sitting down, especially Thursday night football, maybe Monday night football. If I'm taking a little break, and get into the app and make my picks. PrizePicks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. If you get picks right, you could cash in. By the way, people were all over some of my contradictory picks this week and were like chirping me all of a sudden out of nowhere. But hey, people are following along, and because it's fun to play. PrizePicks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Drake Maye's passing yards, rushing yards, and touchdowns? Of course you do. Everybody's pants off for Drake Maye. MVP. Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on PrizePicks. On PrizePicks, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose Flex Play, where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, go for the power play. That's what I do, because go big or go home. I mean, what are we doing here? No matter your play, PrizePicks is a great way to put your takes to the test. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right.
All right, for those listening, we ask that you subscribe to the podcast, like, and leave a review. For those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel, where you can find our show and a lot of other great Patriots content. Also, please make sure to turn on your notifications so you know the instant a new video drops. And check Greg and Mike Giardi out over at BSJ. $50 for the year. Film, best sources around. They do great stuff over there, so check them out. $50 for the year. All right, defense. Another opening drive touchdown. OG Karen Garigian posted during the game that is the 6th time out of the 8 games that the opposition has opened with a touchdown from their offense. At this point, Greg, should we just assume it and move on?
Yeah, we might as well. I mean, they get carved up like a Thanksgiving turkey on the opening drive. Doesn't matter if it's Dylan Gabriel or who was the great Gabriel? There was anyways, whatever. Doesn't really matter. The other team does it. Mike Vrabel, I think, is getting a little annoyed about it. Talking about like, once they got out of their gimmick plays, like, even though I thought that was interesting considering he was with Kevin Stefanski last year, and Kevin Stefanski's the offensive coordinator and the play caller, and not like the Patriots didn't use gimmicky plays to sort of take control of the game on the first drive of the second half. But yeah, I mean, just some sketchy stuff. But they seem to settle down. But it's I can't tell anything. There were a lot of things that I liked in this game. Like they obviously tried to change their mojo on defense and came out with a lot of energy. And of course they had the player introduction things, which I don't really get, but whatever. But they were fired up, those guys, and probably, being home, and they were celebrating everything, which is great. And I thought for the past couple weeks, they've been hitting hard and flying around the field. They're sort of gotten back to that, which is good. They must be understanding the scheme, a little bit more. But just some, I thought they might have been a little too hyped up, because, the touchdown, I don't know, Nick, you monitor this more than I do, but I don't know if Spillane was asked about it in the post game. Because the way that I saw it, I thought that he busted the coverage on the touchdown. It looked like they were in man-to-man. Nobody took the sort of fullback out of there. The other linebacker, I think it was Gibbons, had the tailback. So normally it would have been, Robert Spillane. I thought that, Marcus Jones had one of his few miscues earlier on the Corley end around. So I thought the Browns did a good job of taking advantage of some of the Patriots' over aggressiveness on that. But it's hard for me to take away a lot of from this type of performance. I think they're getting better, but again, this reminds me of some of like 2021 in certain respects. I mean, obviously Drake Maye is way better than Mac Jones, so I'm not worried about another 2021 sort of all of a sudden reality hits in the last month of the season and blah. I don't expect that because of Drake Maye, but the defense, I don't know what to make of it. I mean, this Dylan Gabriel stinks. He had he had the guy wide open, threw it late. Marcus Jones, nice closing speed, whatever. He had 2 guys open on that play. Jerry Jeudy is an absolutely horrendous NFL player at this point. I wondered where he ranked in terms of PFF, and we all take that with a grain of salt, but it sort of matched up. He's ranked 161st on PFF in wide receivers, a couple slots below Kyle Williams, if you can believe it. And Isaiah Bond is a rookie. He's the guy, Nick, right? That was there were some off-field issues, and he went undrafted, even though he was going to get drafted, and then he got cleared. But boy, is that guy soft. And that's when Tavai jacked him up. He didn't even put up a fight when Tavai stopped a quick game over there. That was after the interception. That was like the first play after the interception. Great job by the defense to hold there, missed a field goal. But yeah, good solid performance. I mean, they're grading out well. I just don't know what to make of it at this point.
So I think there's going to be a struggle of, okay, level of competition and the offenses that you're facing and the quarterbacks that you're facing. But the way I feel is you got to start somewhere. Like you've got to get some positives. You can only play who's in front of you. And I think overall, from 30,000 feet, I love saying that, but from 30,000 feet, overall, my feeling about this team is like, well, okay, what were the expectations coming into this season? We certainly did not expect them to be 6-2. We did not expect Drake Maye to be playing at an MVP level in the first half of the season. We did not expect, I don't think we expected this run defense to be arguably the best run defense in all of football. And that, by the way, that's not a level of competition thing. Okay?
No, it's not.
They shut down James Cook. They shut down Rico Dowdle, who, by the way, has been running mad ever since the Patriots game. They shut down Quinshon Judkins on Sunday. I think he had 9 carries for 19 yards. They're shutting down some good backs. So that part of it is not a, competition. What are they, who have they really faced? Who have they stopped? So I just kind of look at this overall and say, they're not only beating bad teams. They're not only beating bad offenses. They're beating the bag out of these teams. And we've now had back-to-back weeks where they just smoke these teams. So that's why I would say the Patriots are at least a good football team, because they're not just beating bad teams. They're running away with these things. And these games are not even games in the fourth quarter of the last 2 weeks. So I kind of feel the same way about the defense, where it's like, early on, as I said, maybe we just assume. I said this on the Locked On Patriots pod I do. I'm almost at the point where just put 7 on the board. Like, don't even take the snaps. Like, put 7 on the board. We give up 7. Let's save some energy for the second drive, because we kind of know what's going to happen at the beginning of a game for whatever reason, whether it's Marte Mapu giving too much space and then, running right into a pick, on a 3rd and long, whatever the hell it is, whatever happens, right? Just give it up. But man, oh man, the second through fourth quarter, this defense does the job. They shut it down. And when your quarterback, Greg, is playing the way Drake Maye is playing, if you keep a team to 20 points or under, guess what? You're going to win the vast majority of football games in the NFL. So, is it beautiful? No. Are there issues? Yes. But are they keeping teams to 20 or less? Absolutely. Are they shutting teams down after the first quarter? Yep. Are they doing what they should be doing against certain quarterbacks with certain matchups? Abso-freaking-lutely. But that's part of it. In the NFL, if you want to be a competitive football team, you take advantage of the bad teams. You beat the bag out of them, and you compete against the good teams, and maybe you win some games against the good teams / contenders like you did against Buffalo on Sunday Night Football Week 5. That's kind of the whole idea. And Julian Edelman posted this the other day, I think it was a week or two ago. But for Mike Vrabel to yes, it's the Saints and it's the Titans and but to go on a 5-game winning streak, to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, that means something in the NFL. And we should not overlook that at all. We should not overlook the fact that they're taking care of business. That's how you build a team. That's how you build the culture and the structure of a program. And that's why Mike Vrabel, that's how you get buy-in, because you're going in and you're smoking teams and the players are like, our coaching staff knows what the hell we're doing. And we might not do everything perfect. Before we get to good and bad, because I know you got to run here in a couple minutes. Christian Gonzalez, are you impressed by what he did? Or do you look at it and say, like, as you just mentioned, Jerry Jeudy stinks, Dylan Gabriel stinks, whatever?
Well, I'll say this. He graded out well for me. Probably his highest graded game for me. I don't really put into context who it is. I mean, he's still what I liked in this game is that he joined into the fun with some very physical tackles in this game. I had him for 2+ pass tackles. I had him for a pass breakup and a pass defensed. I think that was in the end zone, but I'm not sure. Or on fourth down.
It was Jerry Jeudy. They tried to throw a fade, and he just abused Jeudy.
He's been fine. I mean, like I said earlier, when our Marcus Jones. By the way, one thing I want to correct, because I was reading the wrong number on my sheet, just because people would be like, "Duh, Bedard, you're an idiot." Because I said I did not have TreVeyon Henderson for any minus plays. I was looking at Ramondre Stevenson's line. Of course, TreVeyon Henderson had the fumble, which is disappointed, and I had him for a half a stuffed run, where I thought he could have gotten a little bit more on one run. But Marcus Jones is my MVP in the defensive backfield. I think Christian Gonzalez is coming around. I think this was another step for him. That's all good. And I think he's getting better every week. And that's great. And sort of real quick on what you were talking about, the Patriots right now, with the way Drake Maye's playing, even if Sunday, wasn't perfect for him, the defensive line and how they make teams one-dimensional in the running game, and then that gets them into long yards on third down. That's going to increase your odds on third down. That's sort of the formula right now. And if they can just get I think the pass defense, I'm going to have to look at it, but I do think you see them in key spots. We talked about it last week, where they're going to have to play more man coverage if they're really going to unlock this defense in terms of the passing game. I think they're getting there. I think they're taking steps with that. But if they could just get the offensive running game going, a little bit more consistency, you pair that with Drake Maye plus the ability to stop the run on defense, you're a pretty good football team and are going to be a tough team to beat if you take care of the football. And that's the mix right now. And it's very successful.
I mentioned this on the Locked On Patriots podcast last week. Mike Vrabel had 3 indicators of winning. He did the interview on the Greg Hill show, and it was passer rating, it was run differential, it was, I think, turnover differential. And they've checked all 3 boxes. Even though they haven't run the football great, their run defense is so good that they're actually better running the football than their opponents. Passer rating, Drake Maye's at the top of the charts for that, and they're +2 on turnovers. So I would imagine if you asked Mike Vrabel, why are you 6-2, he would look directly at those 3 indicators and go, boop, boop, boop. That's why we're 6-2. That's why we're getting it done. All right, don't forget CLNS Media Network, Celtics All Access, behind-the-scenes content, NBA History Channel, Patriots Press Pass, Bruins Rinkside, and our friends at PrizePicks. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Greg, guys who did not have a very good day on Sunday for you.
Oh, guys who did not. It's going to be very limited. I would say Michael Wenu, Morgan Moses. Boy, Myles Garrett shoved him a couple times. Like he was like,
yeah, I thought Morgan had a tough day at the office.
He did. I guess maybe Hunter Henry. Well, he had a touchdown. So no, not on Hunter Henry was fine. Just not great. Marte Mapu for that pass coverage on that play. That was brutal. Carlton Davis was fine. He had the penalty again, the daily every Sunday Carlton Davis penalty.
By the way, let me stop you there. Let me stop you there quickly. I will say that call was BS. However, Greg Bedard, I am a man of fairness. I am a man of objectivity. And there is no denying that Pop Douglas threw Grant Delpit out the club on the 44-yard gain downfield. That was an obvious OPI that wasn't called on a huge third down. So I'm not going to complain about the holding call on Carlton Davis because, my God, did they miss one on Pop.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I thought on film, I can see why they threw the flag. They were like sort of locked up a little bit. I don't know how it looked on the TV copy. It might have been a little bit more, innocuous. Craig Woodson missed the tackle on the 31-yard run or 30, whatever it was, and the touchdown where he just
he was there. Like, what the hell happened? He was in perfect position. If you freeze it when the ball's halfway there, he is right there. And Njoku kind of just like bodies him as he jumps up. And I don't know how he didn't at least get a hand on that football and break it up. No idea.
Yeah, and that's like 2 or 3 straight games with him allowing a touchdown. So that's really the only negatives. I mean, TreVeyon Henderson had the fumble, but he had a lot of other good stuff that balanced it. So yeah, that's really it. And that's what you expect in a 32-13 game against the suckbag Browns. Guys that I would put that I would consider for up. Drake Maye is not going to be in that category this week. He was fine, just wasn't really good. And plus he had the interception that almost killed the team. Ramondre Stevenson, Will Campbell, Kayshon Boutte. That route was great on the touchdown. He did have a drop, but I'm going to let that slide. The defensive line just has been grading off the charts for me. All of them.
Yeah.
A quiet day for Harold Landry. You might put him in the down, even though I didn't have him for any negatives, but he only had 2 pressures. Milton Williams, Kaylavon Chason, Christian Barmore, Kyrus Tonga was on his way to a monster game before he sat out, bulk of the game.
Oh, first snap of the game. My God. Yeah. I mean, the opening drive stunk out loud, as we mentioned, but that first snap of the game all over the screen and just demolishes the poor human being. Like,
yes.
Yeah, man.
Woo. Yeah. Robert Spillane, even though I had him for giving up a touchdown in this game, the interception, Dylan Gabriel threw it right to him. I credit the pressure. They were really collapsing the pressure there. Dylan Gabriel threw it 3 yards behind, the tight end. But still, I thought Robert Spillane had a monster game overall. Not perfect, but pretty good. Christian Gonzalez, Marcus Jones, Jalen Hawkins for that ridiculous catch. Have we gotten a comment? Yeah. Put him at wide receiver. So yeah, a lot of good stuff in this game, which you would expect against the Browns, and winning like the Patriots did.
Yeah, Mac Hollins was really good. Threw some really nice blocks, along with the plays that he made as a pass catcher. And one name I tweeted this out at Nixie Radio. We talked about him a little bit, Greg, last week, where there's 1 or 2 plays and he gets lumped into the defensive line take from you. But I thought Corey Durden had his best game of the season against Cleveland. And this interior defensive line, man, I'm telling you, they're a little light in the ass at edge. I'd like them to add an edge because Keon White's just obviously healthy scratch, has not worked out, breaking news.
Mm-hmm.
But Corey Durden and Tonga and Farmer was a little quiet on Sunday, but Farmer has popped a little bit on the film.
Yep.
And then you got the 2 beasts with Christian Barmore and Milton Williams. So, yeah, man, that interior defensive line is deep and it's talented. All right, he's Greg. He's going to run to F&M. I'm Nick. I got to run to, I guess my lunch downstairs. Everybody be great for the rest of the week, but I'm actually back on Thursday, I think, if Greg lets it happen. We'll be back later this week on, I kid. On Thursday, we'll get you ready for the Atlanta Falcons. Till then, be well.